All right, welcome to week 2 of the Maze projects. In this tutorial, we're going to cover how to use the 4 views to help you out in your manipulation process of your geo. So let's just do a quick review. This is where we left off before. I went over the whole stair process. Again, once you select the object and duplicate it using Control D, you can then repeat that action using Shift D, right, as the move and transform hotkey. And you should see that tutorial online. We have it available for you here at Lassen Community College on my YouTube channel. So here is, again, the goal is to create some sort of cool maze, some couple levels, and a lot of that has to do with stacking and manipulation. So I'm going to kind of go from scratch here real quick. I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to go to the poly modeling shelf and again click on the cube just to have a cube there in the scene. And maybe I'll create a sphere and I'll move that out of the way real quick. And I don't know, I think I might use a torus too, just to have something a little bit different. All right, and again, in order to do this, where you have a single click of the mouse where it appears here under the create menu, you want to have under polygon primitives, you want this interactive creation checked off. By default, I believe it's turned on. So just make sure that's unchecked, and then you should have the ability to basically have the object appear in the scene here. Now again, remember, if you're not pivoting correctly like I am here, you can simply select something and hit the F key, and that will pivot around that object. So that's what I'm doing there. So let me just do a quick refresher. Our goal is to basically refine the maze of simple primitives. We're going to add materials eventually. That'll be another tutorial. And we're going to do a little bit of modeling, which will also be another tutorial. So today we're going to use basically the 4 views, what's known as the 4 views, to basically create some stacking and some organization. All right, so just to give you a little more information. Okay, so the 4 views, again, you have to tap the spacebar to go in the 4 views, and not hold down the spacebar. Holding down brings up the hotkey menu here. So just make sure you tap the spacebar. You'll still see the hotkey, but you'll tap it. And then once you move the cursor into a new view and tap spacebar, it'll maximize that view. So it's pretty easy to do. And so the first thing I might want to do is just scale this out a little bit. In fact, let me go back to the 3/4 view and just make sure that this looks like something that I might like to stack. Something like that, maybe like a brick. I'm thinking the torus here, I might want to scale it up a little bit, maybe squish it down. Yeah, something like that might be kind of cool. And then the sphere, I'm going to leave alone, I think. Yeah, I'll just leave that one alone. And then, so I can go to these different views and I can move them around. So like here on the top view, right, if I select it with the move tool, again over here are your tools on the left here, I'm using the hotkeys. So W for move, E for rotation, R for scale. So I can select these objects and move them around. And then if I want to duplicate something, like I'm thinking a lot of these would be kind of cool as bricks, I can hit Control D to duplicate it and then move it over and basically slide over. And since I'm from the top view here, if I go back to my 3/4, I'm not moving it up or sideways. I'm just basically sliding across on the surface here. Now, you can also do it in this view too if you're careful. So if I hit Control D again and grab from the arrow here and move up, and then grab the arrow here. But notice if I want this to be right on here, it's a little bit trickier to kind of see that. But if I tap spacebar and go to, say, the side view here in the bottom right corner, I can see that a little easier. And I can roll in the mouse to kind of zoom in on that area. And if I really want to see everything clearer, right now you can see we're in shaded solid mode. I like to be in the shading menu, which is wireframe unshaded. I like to see the actual polygon outlines. So I can grab that and basically just check that box and I can open it up. But now I could start creating like a brick system here if I wanted to, for example. Just as an idea here. Maybe another one here and then another one here. And I'm not going to do a whole model here, but I just want you to see how quickly you can move things. And it's okay if you want to have some of the geometry pierce the other geometry. It's not like a bad thing for this particular project. In the 3D world, there are some instances where you would do that and other instances where you wouldn't. In game engines, you probably wouldn't for the most part. In filmmaking, sometimes they'll do it if they're on a budget and they just need to get something done real quick if it's in camera. Anything for production, though, they want to have it very precise, like my spaceship. You want to make sure that you're not doing that with extra geometry on the inside. Just so you can see what it looks like if I hit number 4 here, you'll see there's extra geometry in here, that there's extra faces. So if you wanted to slam a couple pieces of geometry like that, you would basically delete those internal faces. I'll go ahead and hit number 5 to bring it back to shaded solid. And so now basically I can have fun kind of stacking these around. In fact, if I duplicate this sphere here and grab this little green square here, I can slide around in the XZ axis and not move it up or down. That's kind of handy. That's the one thing I do like to do when I'm arranging things, is to grab these little squares for that. This guy here, maybe I want to rotate it, so I can hit E. And if you hold the shift key, it sort of snaps to these little areas, degrees sometimes. So mine's not quite working properly, but it usually works okay. So another way to go about it is just to pay attention to your channel box here. So if I drag it and start moving it over, you can see rotate Z here. I can put in a value of like 90 or negative 90, and I can get it to go this direction like this. So if I wanted a bunch of these, I don't know, like thinking like a circus or something where there's like these holes, these openings where you look through, it can make a couple of copies like that. I mean, pretty much you can have fun designing however you want. If you want to create a couple of tires together like that, this is totally up to you. You can scale objects differently, right? So maybe this one's a little bigger, right? So pretty much anything you want to do, have at it and have fun, experimenting. And don't be afraid. You really can't make a mistake here. You're just having fun designing and kind of playing around and getting used to the scale tools and so forth. So maybe this one I'll stretch it out more and make it a little bit wider like that. I mean, it's almost becoming like a structure of a vehicle right now. But yeah, you get the idea here. You can kind of have fun. And again, you can tap spacebar to go any of these views. The front views sometimes I'll use, but it just depends on what you want to do in here. Like, for example, if I wanted more of these along here, I could duplicate, bring it over here real easy, and I have almost like 4 wheels going on here. But I'm not creating a vehicle, so I'm just creating interesting geometry. So again, you can allow some parts to stick out, like so, and then you just basically just keep adding and duplicating and changing to your heart's content. Now, in the next tutorial, we're going to go over, I'm going to go ahead and delete all this. We're going to go over how to do some actual modeling. So to get something a little bit more interesting, perhaps like this piece, I frame in on it, and there's a new key I'm going to show you right now. It's this little blue arrow here in this menu set here. It's called the solo key. Basically, it just hides everything else from the outliner, and you solo this whole thing here. But you can see how this is a very unique kind of form here. It's not just a simple cube. And I can click on that same button here to bring it back. Another piece of geometry that I created was this structure here. I'll go ahead and solo it. And it's unique enough and interesting enough that basically I can make a couple copies of it, right? So in the next tutorial, we'll do that. And then the final tutorial, we'll talk about materials, all right, for this week. Until next time, see you soon. Cheers.